Hey, it's Andrew Downs. I'm proud to support Three Beards Media, and I would love to work with you. If you need merchandise for your company, organization, band, softball team, whatever, I can help. From name brand apparel to promotional items, large orders or small, online stores, and more, I can help your brand stand out. AKC Marketing is local, based in Johnston, and we are an employee-owned business, so our costs are low and our turnaround times are fast. But most importantly, we give you personal service to make sure you get exactly what you're looking for. Email me at andrew@akcmarketing.com or find me on social media, and let's make some cool stuff together. Now sit back and enjoy this Three Beards Media podcast.
Red and gold on the edge of the sky, feel the rumble, hear the battle cry. Out in Ames where the storms ignite, we don't back down, we rise and fight. Jack Trice his name, yeah, it echoes strong. A story of honor still marches on. Through the rain, through the pain, through the fire we roar, 'cause we were built to thrive in the eye of the storm. Feel the ground shake, hear the crowd roar. Cyclone power, can't take no more. Legends rise, this is our norm. We stand tall in the sigh of the storm. There's a cyclone blowing on the outskirts tonight. Jack Trice shakes when the team takes flight. Buildings rocking, hear the magical. We rise together, we'll never fall. Feel the magic you can't deny. Marcus Stars are taking off straight to the sky. Brick, big play, Kirby making history. When the moment gets tough, that's a cyclone way. Through the trenches, through the lane, through the heat, through the rain. When the storm comes rolling, we embrace the fight. 'Cause the cyclones strike when the time is right. Feel the cyclones strike when the time is right.
All right, welcome back to In the Side of the Storm, where we talk all things Cyclones. We are live from the AKC Marketing Studio with Andrew Downs, and sponsored by Revelton Distilling Company out of Osceola, Iowa, and Dan Douglas with Green Beret Realty. Sorry, it's been one of those nights for me. I'm Dave Larson here with my Storm Team partner and Cyclone Great, the legend himself, Marcus Pfizer. Marcus, good evening. How are you?
Good evening. Not the best, without a doubt, but it's just one of those nights.
Yeah, so this is a replacement episode for, we usually go on Wednesday nights and thought this would be a fun episode to do one tonight with our, in light of tonight's game, Cyclones losing to Ole Miss in Milwaukee. Really came back towards the end, at one time down by 26 points.
Right.
It ended up losing 91-78 was the final score. I had to look it up because I was just sick to myself and turning away. And boy, this is one of those games that just does not sit well. Marcus, you and I were just chatting, and I said, Marcus, let's save it for the show because you always have such great insight. To talk about what happened and give us your take. What the hell happened tonight?
I mean, I really can't explain what happened. It was just one of those nights where it just seemed like it started off well, but it went downhill fast. Do I think we missed Keyshawn? Without a doubt. That was a big part of the cohesiveness not being there tonight, but injuries happen, injuries occurred, and next man up, as Brent always says. But I mean, we started well. Curtis came off the bench and hit 2 big shots, and I felt good at that moment. Felt good enough to take my daughter to the park and have the phone, watching it on the phone. Felt real comfortable. And once we ended at the park. She always wants her McDonald's fries, so we went and got some fries from McDonald's, and I just, I was looking over it, having on the magnet stand or whatever, and I'm looking over, listening to it, and I'm like, this just doesn't sound right. And then we got down by 26, and I was like, there's no way in hell where this team is 20 points better than us.
Yeah, you even texted that on our text chain. You said at that point it was 20, and you said there's no way these guys are better than us by 20 points.
That was me pulling into the McDonald's drive-thru at that moment. And just thinking to myself, like, man, like it's just one of those ones that, March Madness, everyone makes a run at the end or whatever, but it just always feels like one of those ones that no matter what kind of run you make, we're not going to pull this one out. And, the gut punch is you start to feel, and you just, just waiting for those final zeros to clock in and, just be done.
At halftime, we've seen some deficits. This is not something that's all something we're not familiar with, right? Down by 11 at half, we had 40-29. Kind of felt like there was an opportunity there that we'd come out, and we did, right? We got within 7 fairly quickly, had a little bit of a run just outside, just as we came back from the half. And then they even called it on the game, ballooned back up to 11 or 12 again. And it just seemed like we were chasing our tails the entire game, did not have that sustained run to get us back in. Sometimes you get up within 4 and you think, okay, this is something that's more manageable. At 7,
Right.
even then, it felt more manageable, but it was very early in the second half, and we just struggled. You talk about Texas, or excuse me, talk about Ole Miss. They were really red hot shooting, and you talk about Keyshawn. I think we forget about his defensive play. We know him from an offensive schedule. We've seen his intensity on the offensive side of the ball. We've seen his dribble penetration and how he can dominate teams and take it to the rim. That tends to open things up from the outside. But I think we forget a lot about what he provided to this team on the defensive side.
Yeah, that was a major part of it all. And I know we had some guys that stepped up, came in and tried to fill the big shoes and the hole in the gap that he left. But the farther you get into the tournament, the tougher these teams are. And, we know Coach Beard is going to have tough teams that he put out on the floor. And Ole Miss always has some good key players down there that's going to play tough. And, also we missed a ton of free throws. We missed a ton of free throws, free throws that you didn't expect, and they weren't, in and outs either. They were misses. And so once you start chasing that and mentally, other shots stop falling, you start to look for different things to occur, the referees to help you out. And at that point, that's not going to come.
You talk about guys that stepped up. Nate Heisey was one that we should call out. And at the beginning of the year, we really saw him struggle to the point where he wasn't even shooting the ball and became a liability. And we all sort of questioned whether he should be playing at all, much less coming in off the bench. He started tonight, was perfect, 5 for 5 from field goal, 3 for 3 from the 3-point line, ended up with 13 points, second to Josh Jefferson, who had 16. Heisey really played a pretty solid game on the offensive side.
Yeah, he turned it on for us here of late. And like I said in the check, I expected him to pick it up a little bit earlier. Better late than never. So you can always be grateful for that effort and everything that he did. Hopefully he can usually build on that and be a lot better in the years to come.
And last show, we talked a little bit about, we sort of thought or had hoped maybe that a win here would have propelled us to a Sweet 16 matchup against Michigan State in an anniversary game of sorts where your team had played in an Elite 8 game against Michigan State. You had proclaimed that you would be in Atlanta then if that were the case. It sounds like you're off the hook from making that trip down to Atlanta. Well, actually, Michigan State's in a dogfight right now. It was a 3-point game the last that I checked.
Well, for that part, I wasn't looking to be off the hook, for that part. I actually been speaking with I have an older cousin, big cousin of mine that's in the car business down there, and so he has a couple cars I've been looking at on his lot. So I needed an excuse to go down there. Besides,
yeah, you were talking in.
Do we get disconnected?
Too. Yeah, you're back. Yeah, we were talking a couple. Well, was it earlier
Can
this week about? I can hear you just fine. You were talking a little bit in the text chain about some car dealership and some opportunities with the car. So I probably should not be surprised with that, which is more disappointing. And I know this is really raw because the game just ended.
We're back.
Yeah. Which was the worst loss? And I know this is very premature, but which was the worst loss this year? The Kansas State game at home where we lost by 19. They snapped that long win streak at Hilton. The game at Oklahoma State in late February, or was it this game against Ole Miss?
I think this game took the cake for me. Even though I don't think any of the teams that we lost to that you mentioned were better than us as a team. The game against K-State was a big loss, to date. But today just felt like, it didn't even feel like that K-State game. That K-State game just felt like they came out and wanted it better. We came out tonight and just seemed like we weren't there for whatever reason. I don't know if it was fatigue. I don't know if it was, something going on mental. It is a long season, but, once you get to this point, you got to, batten down the hatches and put your A game out there on the floor. And for me, I think that was more disappointing than anything. I didn't feel as nervous as I felt against Oklahoma State when I texted in the chat. I feel nervous about this one. And no disrespect, don't take away anything from Ole Miss, but I just don't feel like they were a better ball club than us. They were better than us tonight, without a doubt, but I think we should have got that one.
Were there things that you saw out of Mississippi that, Chris Beard is a known commodity, right? He coached at Texas Tech. He coached at Texas before his departure from there and landed at Ole Miss. So he's a known commodity out of the Big 12. He's known for that switching defense. Were there things that they did that impacted us offensively, or was it things that we were doing? In the text chain, and I have to go back and really watch that game again, which this game I don't think I will because it was disgusting to see. But it just felt like even in our text chain, we were settling for 3-point shots. There were a lot of times where I felt like offensively our guys were standing around, not much movement, thus not much ball movement. And when we've seen success, now granted, we didn't have Keyshawn there to be able to dribble penetrate, but it felt like the ball was stagnant and we were settling for shots. What are some things that you saw?
Well, a little bit of both. I noticed that switching defense, and a lot of coaches are going to that a lot more. And man, like I thought when I played, switch. It's such a difference of a switch, and they've almost mastered it. Like it's almost like a zone, man to man. And some of the times, when I was watching the game, it was some guys that I was like, man, how are these guys doing? And so I guess it's like wherever, the man that's free and you don't have nobody, then that's your guy or whatever. And it's one of those scrambling defenses. But I watch a lot of basketball, watch a lot of college basketball, and I notice how they've been switching. I'm like, that's totally different than when I played. But it threw us out of rhythm. The 3-point shot is the ultimate equalizer if it goes in. If it doesn't go in, then, long rebounds, long shots, long rebounds, you get in and running the other way. And once you get that momentum, especially on this stage and, everyone is watching pretty much, and the referees want it to be a good game. They want it to be a high-scoring game, and, the rest is downhill.
Well, you talk about great equalizer. The Cyclone shot just 36% from three. Meanwhile, Ole Miss was almost 58% from three. That's incredible. And they shot 58% from the field overall. So if that tells you anything about their offensive mojo and maybe where we were, that's the difference in the game right there. The shooting, they shot really well.
As a hooper, as a baller, and I don't like to, talk a lot about myself and playing things like that, but, doing it at a high level, and especially in college, there were times where, when you think to yourself, damn, I can't miss. You really know, you're really locked in. You really know where that shot is. You really know where the basket is. Kind of like, Curtis. We've seen some nights out there. It was like, man, that is like 50 feet deep, and it almost don't even touch the nets. So when you locked in like that, and the team is shooting like that, you got Contrell Horton and a Mike Nurse that's out there shooting lights out. You feel good about your shot. And once the team, feels that well, things just continue to roll. So it's hard to get that momentum away from a ball club that's rolling and scoring the ball like that. And then when you're chasing, things are a little bit different. You're missing free throws. So that's the ultimate thing that's the easiest thing. That's the easiest thing on the court. I joked with my wife the other day, and I tell her, this whole Drake and Kendrick beef or whatever, and the Not Like Us song. I said the most illest verse in that song that he said, or something that he said, is he's a free throw. I was like, that's the easiest thing ever in life to do, is to shoot a free throw. And so when you're not making those free throws and now you're chasing it, now everything becomes hard, and the rest is history.
Well, and that's a big change, because the last game we shot much better. We were the ones that were shooting 58% from the field.
Right.
Now, still didn't shoot very well from the free throw line either. I mean, that you're right on that. Those are easy buckets that you got to make.
I'm interested to know what Josh ended up finishing on the year for, because in the beginning he was above 90s, and I don't know. I saw him miss a couple of days. I'm like, you just don't know what it is. But the guys fought hard all year long. A lot of ups and downs. The ups and downs is what was confusing to me, because it wasn't a loss, or maybe a loss here. Like, there were some losses, and then we piled on one or two after that. Like, what's really going on? So then we get it right, win a couple of games, get to the Big 12 tournament, and it's like we expected to at least get to the 16.
All right. I want to take a quick break. This pod may be a little bit shorter than normal, which is fine. And we'll hear a quick word from our sponsors. I see that there's a lot of people that are online right now. If you have any comments or thoughts that you want to post it in the chat or in the comments section, please do that. We'll quick hear from Revelton and then Green Beret Realty.
Making great tasting bourbon requires the perfect combination of ingredients, conditions, and time. The longer it rests, the better it tastes. Revelton Distillery's new single barrel bourbon is made from 80% corn, sourced 100% from Iowa farmers. And unlike mass-produced bourbons, each barrel of Revelton's single barrel bourbon is unique, proofed on when it tastes best. As they like to say, it'll be ready when it's ready. And to ensure the highest standards of quality and flavor, owners Rob and Christy Taylor oversee the production and bottling. Every single barrel. Iowa born, Iowa aged, Iowa bottled. Try the new single barrel bourbon from Iowa's own Revelton Distillery. ReveltonDistillery.com.
In 2023, a crack Green Beret named Dan Douglas retired his military command and promptly escaped to a full-time career in real estate. Today, this man is wanted by home buyers and sellers who want to survive the process without spending a fortune. If you have a home to sell or want to buy one, maybe you can hire Dan Douglas at Green Beret Realty. You can find him at greenberetrealty.com. greenberetrealty.com.
I'm chuckling a little bit because I think I've had too much to drink. I'm a little bit, this is one of those games that you watch and you think, I've got nothing else to do. I'm on Twitter, I'm watching the game, and the next thing I know, I've had too much of a bottle. So we're back to it, though. Thank you for those, our sponsors. We've got some really good sponsors with Revelton. I was at a locale last night watching the Drake men's game, and I popped out and there's Revelton on display, so that was great. Made for my selection of drinks very easy to select from. So where do we go from here, Marcus? We're at a point now where we've had, 2 Sweet 16 appearances, 4 total NCAA appearances under Coach Otts. We've got some seniors that are graduating from all. It really sounds like CJ will be back next year. Curtis Jones, he played, with the NCAA ruling that allows for JUCO players to get to have that not count in their eligibility. So there is a strong possibility that he returns, although I can imagine with the NIL dollars that are flying around right now that he's going to be a hot commodity, and he's really the 6th starter for the Cyclones. He's a good chance that he comes back. I've heard Joshua Jefferson. I would really have to look into this further to see how that would work, but there's a chance that he could come back. Again, NIL, we've seen him. He's that point forward. He's a key asset. I think he would be very appealing for any team that's out there looking for a guy like that. He can do so much for you. Where do we go from here? What are some of the links that is your Coach Otts that you're looking for next year's team to help supplement some of the guys that are coming back?
Well, I think the biggest thing is like you said, with the climate that we're in today, you never know who's going to be around, who's new going to be coming in. It's a little bit different in my time where you pretty much, you may have 1 or 2 guys that, we're going to transfer out and have 1 or 2 guys that come back in. But, you're dealing with, Calipari leaving Kentucky and Mark Pope had to get a whole new roster, so you never really can tell what's going to happen. So it's kind of hard to say. I think the main core guys, if we're able to retain them, will definitely be a positive. But like you said, I don't know if Curtis wants to be a starter or needs to be a starter, or if he wants to come off the bench. But with the display of scoring that he showed this year, of course we know he's going to be a hot commodity for a lot of teams to try to pluck him away, as well as Joshua Jefferson. So I think the biggest thing we got to see is what's going to happen. Hopefully we get some news about that fairly early to know, what's the next step and the way to build from there.
Yeah, the portal window opens up. It's not one of those things that it opens up in May. If I remember right, it opens up here in the next couple of weeks, which is really weird for the basketball season. But those are the rules, and I hope that they'll end up changing that. And we've got coaches moving all around. In fact, I was listening to our friends over at Hawk's Eye View in their discussions with the whole coaching change over there. When you have a coach that leaves, boom, that opens up the portal for a lot of those guys that can enter, and that University out east is seeing a lot of that right now. I'm also seeing, did you see this guy on Twitter, by the way, Marcus?
No.
So Sam is a guy, and I'm not going to say his last name because I actually know Sam. He is probably one of the most hated guys that's on Twitter right now for the Cyclone Nation. Sam, believe it or not, is a family guy. He's got kids. He went up to the Lipscomb game wearing a Lipscomb shirt when they played Iowa State and his Hawkeye hat. What is this something you would do? I mean, do you think this is normal? Of course, Milwaukee's 5.5 hour drive. He would have had to take time off from work to get up there for that game on Friday because it was a noon tip. And he's wearing Lipscomb. Is this fandom gone a little bit too crazy for Sam?
Well, it sounds like it was a wasted trip. I mean, we didn't lose the game, so it's kind of funny to see. But I mean, at any rate, that's a lot of great dedication. But if it would have worked, then I would have been more upset. I don't think Cyclone Nation should be upset at him now because, I mean, what's the point? Iowa wasn't there, and Lipscomb got beat by us, so it is what it is.
Yeah, I've thought about. I don't know if Sam knows that we run the show, but I may have a conversation with him and invite him on here because, again, he's a good guy, but boy, he provokes, and that's his thing. He's on Twitter. He's talking smack with Cyclones, and I think a lot of them hate Sam. I don't blame them, but I do know Sam is a good guy, but he likes to push people's buttons. That's for sure.
Well, I'm fine with that. We're grown. I'm like I said, I'm not pro anything over the other. If anything is pro Iowa State over Iowa, and that's probably the farthest it goes. But we can be the totally opposite, one way or the other. But as long as we respect each other as human beings and men, I don't expect you to believe in everything I believe in, and vice versa. I mean, that's how you keep the balance in life.
Do you sit and wonder what if Momcilovic doesn't get hurt? What if Keyshawn doesn't get hurt? What if Taman doesn't get hurt? I mean, we were strumming along there when that one loss in Maui against Auburn, and we were looking like the team to beat. We were top 4 at one point. I think we got to number 3, number 2.
Yeah.
Do you think what if now?
Absolutely, because I think that loss to Auburn was a hard loss, but I think Auburn was scared of us, because that was a game that we were down by a lot and we came back and they won it at the end. It kind of reminded me of losing to Cincinnati early on in the season and wanting to get back around to them. Now, at any rate,
you're talking your year, right? Yeah. 2002 Cincinnati, yeah.
Correct.
Kenyon
Martin. He had that bad injury, and so they ended up, not going far in the tournament. But I was looking forward to running into them again. But it reminded me of that that type battle in Hawaii as well. But we started, Momcilovic got injured, and then we started having a little nagging injuries around here and there. Taman's, thumb was messed up pretty much all year long. And if you're not an athlete, especially a basketball player, you don't know how important. Like it's more than a fact of a grab, or it's one of those things where it can get hit at any time. And once that plane hits your brain, it's just like you're on pins and needles for the rest of the game. So it definitely affects the play. And then Keyshawn went through whatever he went through with the different injuries and stuff. So it really torpedoed us extremely fast, and while trying to stay above water, win games in this tough conference, it just got the best of us.
And the amazing thing, Taman shot pretty well with that broken finger too. I mean, I'd have to go back and look at a shooting percentage and compare it this year versus last year, or this year pre-injury, but he seemed to shoot better, and maybe some of that is just his thinking and being more thoughtful in how he shot. He shot remarkably well with a broken finger.
Keeping that thumb still is one of those things where, the motion, keeping it still where it's not affected that badly.
Happy anniversary today. Do you know what I'm referring to?
I would assume it has something to do with back in the day.
There you go.
Oh, wow.
You're right. 25 years ago today is when your team beat UCLA in what was then the greatest differential in scoring for an Iowa State team in the NCAA tournament, when you guys had beat UCLA.
Yeah, we beat the hell out of UCLA. And the thing like that, we had a lot of wins that year, but I was most proud of that win. One, it being UCLA. At that time, Iowa State had never beat UCLA, and there was a lot of talk that was going on in the tunnel. Somehow we were in the tunnel together. And a good friend of mine, Earl Watson, who was the point guard of UCLA at the time, we were McDonald All-Americans together. He had like 13 or 14 assists, the game before. And so there was a lot of talks about that, the matchup, the battles of the point guard. And I knew I had the best point guard in the nation that year. And, we just went out and had a hell of a game. And that was, probably the best win of the year to me, even over Kansas.
Now that 24-point differential, we have a new record that was set against Lipscomb, with the Cyclones winning in that first round game 82-55. So unfortunately, you guys' record is now in second place to the 27-point differential against Lipscomb. Otz is now the winningest Iowa State men's basketball coach in Iowa State NCAA tournament history.
Wow, yeah, congratulations. I mean, he's had some great teams, a lot of talented players. rebuilding that program from the unfortunate the last year that we had with Coach Prone. Not to take anything away from Steve. Steve was a great guy and did a lot of great things for the program as well. So, Ots came in and with that tough mentality, defense, scored the ball, and control the game, and he's had a lot of success. Man, it's been 25 years.
Do you feel like it's 25 years?
Yes. yes. We've gotten a new home.
The knees probably feel 25 years, right?
Oh my God! And it's a 2-story home, and like I told my wife, I can feel my quads and my hamstrings getting stronger. So, but man, these knees are on fire. Man, these knees on fire.
So Cyclones are out of the tournament. How do your brackets look?
And
how many brackets do you have?
I made 3. I made 3. Yes.
All right. So you're one of those. You're okay with having 3 with multiple brackets. I know that that's a cardinal sin for some. I have 2. I've got one for Three Beards Media, and then I had one for work, and I didn't want them to be the exact same. But I did have Iowa State going to the Elite Eight in both of them.
I went on to the Three Beards Media and tried to, and I couldn't find it. So I just did ESPN ones. So the first one I did. The second one, looking through the brackets and trying to figure out like what ESPN is talking about. They had like copy, like an analyst or whatever. And so I looked through the people and I found one of theirs or whatever. And I guess that copied theirs. And then I did another one. I did the first one with like most of the stronger teams, then I did another one where I thought maybe the upsets that could have happened.
Couple upsets.
And those are the 3. So I really did 2, and then that other one where I copied someone else, I have no idea. I have no idea what none of them is doing anyways. I always wait until the first and second round is over and then, start looking at them again.
Well, I want to thank you because you called out McNeese State, and I ended up picking them. I actually picked them to go to the Sweet 16. They did get out of the first round, obviously. So thank you for that. They gave me an extra point. I just wish they could have won that second game. So that it was a blowout.
Yeah, I don't think I had them going to the Sweet 16. I had them winning the first game, though. Yeah.
All right, so I want to thank you for that. The women, we should probably make a reference to the Iowa State women. They played on Friday as well. I thought that was a lot of fun that we were able to watch both the women and the men back to back. And I was talking to my son, and I thought, in retrospect, that would have been really cool to be down in South Bend and then have enough time to drive up to Milwaukee because it's only about a 3.5 hour drive between the two. Now, granted, that wasn't going to happen in this case, but it would have been cool if the men had played in the evening on Friday, where Cyclone fans could have made that trek from South Bend up to Milwaukee to watch those games. But the women end up losing in that second game after beating Princeton. We were the team that came back in that second half to beat Princeton. Well, on Friday it was the opposite. Michigan came back from 10 down to beat the Cyclones 80-74. Audie Crooks with 28 points. This was, I think, she had scored 27 plus points in 5 out of her last 6 games. Cyclones finish at 23-12. The lone senior, Emily Ryan, I don't know if you saw her on Twitter. I think Cyclone Fanatic had interviewed her, and she was just emotional. It's so tough to see a player like Emily Ryan's career end, whether you win the championship or you first or second round knockout. It's just she was just the heart and soul, had so much. Just loved watching her play. Any thoughts on this women's team? And I know again that text chain becomes so powerful, but what are your thoughts? What do the women need to do? And in next year, we'll lose Emily Ryan, but we should get back Kenzie Hare. Likely we'll see some transfers. That's just how it goes nowadays. But what are some of those expectations that you would have for players and for personnel for next year in the women's program?
Well, it definitely was up and down season. Only having one, only having one senior, is big in terms of making it far or not making it far. Having upperclassmen, even if they don't play a lot, um, or even play at all, just having that leadership that's been there and can help you out. I remember Brad Johnson, my freshman year, helped me out a ton, because of I had never been through it all, and so those type things goes a long way. So this was a tough season for me to watch our ladies play. They did some good things, and they had some big falls as well. That game against Michigan, I was very excited and to be up. I kind of was feeling myself again, turning on the phone, doing some other things.
They look good.
And then
Absolutely.
they were looking really good. So I was, I'm gonna finish the game at home once I got home. And I turned on the TV in the bedroom and we were down. I was like, what happened? Like, because being out on the phone, the whatever it is, Hulu, it'll pause or it'll do something else and lose connection. And so it'll be lagging a little bit. So once you get home, it's live. And when I saw we were down, I was like, oh my goodness, it's not good. And so we just couldn't get it back. So I know Coach Finley and the staff is going to do whatever they got to do to improve the team. We're used to success, so we're kind of spoiled in that retrospect. But definitely, hats off to them. Like I tweeted to Coach Finn for his 800 win. Already had a hell of a season, as well as a lot of the other ladies as well. So just got to keep fighting.
Yeah. Well, and that great freshman class that came in a season ago now will be upperclassmen next year. And between Addie Brown and Audie Crooks and AJ, there's a lot of talent that's on that team. And you bring in a Kenzie Hare to come in, and Eiley Tanky came in. She hadn't played for weeks and knocked down a couple of huge threes in that game against Michigan. I thought, oh, I forgot about Eiley. That's the player that we saw that started this season for the Cyclones. And you got Jones, who's going to be back. I'm assuming all these players are going to be back, but there's a lot of talent, a good core group that the pieces are there. And obviously I have a love affair with the women's team. I think a lot of them, of course, you lose a player like Emily Ryan, but there's so much for Coach Fennelly and that staff to work with. And Audie this year, I saw some aspects of her footwork that improved. She added that step back shot or the fadeaway shot this year, that if she can work on, to me, the footwork down low, she's going to be even scarier than she has been this year.
Yeah, I don't know how soon they get to training and things like that, and how much time he gives them off. But there's a lot to learn from the season that we just had. Obviously, we had a better year the year before, went deeper. So to have this, I guess you would call it a little sting, may help a lot. Hopefully, it makes them a lot more hungrier for the season that's coming up. And this summer is very important for both squads, of men and women.
All right. Well, I think we can probably put a bow on this one. This is not our last show. We'll be back next week for another edition of In the Side of the Storm. There's some football news I really want to talk about. Spring practice begins this week. There's been some media news that has come out that's been sort of teasing us that I think we want to really dive into and talk a little bit more about as well. So that's it for at least on the basketball side of things. Cyclones lose tonight, 91-78 in the second round of the NCAA tournament to Ole Miss. And so their season concludes, but we've got a lot to talk about, and still we're going to go ahead and continue to cheer on those Cyclones. Thank you to our sponsors, Revelton Distilling Company and Green Beret Realty, and of course our studio sponsor, Andrew Downs and AKC Marketing. So have a good evening, my friend, and we'll see everyone on next week's show. Go Cyclones.
Go Cyclones.
There's a cyclone brewing on the outskirts tonight. Jack Tribe shakes when the scene takes flight. Hilton's rocking, hear the magic call. We rise together, we'll never fall. There's a cyclone brewing on the outskirts tonight. Jack Tribe shakes when the team takes flight.